All right, this assignment is about assigning velocities to objects in a program or a game, and I want to set you up with this. I have a little bit of code that I've written here, and it has an object on the screen, and the idea is that I want to move it from right to left. I just want to move it across the screen. Previously, the way that we've done this is that we would use the X location of the object. So I'd bring over a sprite.x, I'd go over here to math, I'd get a plus block, I'd go back to sprites, I get another sprite.x. I have called it's a spaceship. I've called my sprite ship here, so I'll change that up real quick. And then I would have to add, if I'm going from right to left, I would have to add a negative number. So let's say I add -4. If I reset and run this program, the spaceship moves from right to left, and it does so because I created what's called a counter pattern. We've done that before. That is not new. What we're going to look at today is a new block of code that is now going to be added into the work that you can do, and it's about velocity. And velocity blocks kind of take up all of this, like if you'll look at what I've got right here, ship.x equals ship.x plus a -4. The velocity blocks will take all of that idea and kind of swallow it up into one block. And it makes it easier and more efficient to write some code that will move some objects around the screen in a manner and in a direction and in a speed that you want it to move. So I'm just going to do this. Your assignment is to create 4 short programs that move an object using velocity blocks, and all the motions have to be different. You could do up, down, right, left, diagonal, but you have to do 4, and they have to be different. I'm going to show you a little bit about how. I'm going to just go up here to Create Game Lab. I'm going to start a brand new one. I'll rename this. This is going to be velocity number 1. I'll save that. And the first thing you're going to have to do is just go grab some kind of sprite. I'm going to go to vehicles, and I'm going to use this like orange player ship right there. I'm going to rename that. I'll just call that ship number 1, and back to code. All right, so let's work through this idea, and you're going to find that you can use remix to speed this all up. So I'm going to go to sprites, and I'm going to create the sprite, and I'm going to set the animation. Now I'm just going to use a label here. I'll call it ship, and I want this is going to be I'll do a right to left motion, kind of like I did a moment ago. So I'm going to put it over about 375 and down 200 to begin with. I'm checking my initial location of the ship. All right, and this is going to be ship, and I'll set the animation to be that ship number 1. All right, inside the draw function now, I'll go ahead and set this up. I'll set a background, and I want my background to be black because I'm doing a spaceship, and I'll set a draw sprites command. All right. Now, if I run that right now, you'll see that my ship is sitting over on the right-hand side. Now I'm going to do one other thing, and this is just because I want to. I'm going to rotate that ship. I'll do ship.rotation equals -90. And if I reset and run that real quickly, then it's just kind of pointed in the way that I want it to go, and that's the only reason I did that. All right, so right now it's not moving, correct? Okay, here's where the velocity blocks come in. You'll see in your sprites drawer, you have a .velocityx and a .velocityy. And again, this gets into the idea that you have to keep your x's and your y's and your positives and your negatives straight in your head to make this work, but it's not difficult really. All right, so like in this one, I just want to move this ship from right to left. So I'm going to bring over a velocity x, and I'm actually going to drop it outside of the draw loop. All I'm going to do is assign a velocity to the ship. And then that's going to stay the same unless I were to change it somehow. But I'm just going to assign it like a -4. Now the reason I did a negative number there is because you see where my ship is sitting. It's over on the right-hand side, and I want it to move to the left. So that's got to be a negative value there. All right, let's reset and run that, and it works. And this is all we're really after today, is using these velocity blocks to create motion that goes in different directions. Now this one's done, right? So I've got something moving from right to left. So the time saver for you here is going to be this. It doesn't. You could rebuild from scratch if you wanted to. You could come over here and say create and go to Game Lab and just start over. Or I'm just going to remix it. I'm going to rename it. This is going to be my velocity number 2. I'll save that. And I'm going to use the same ship. This time I'm going to move it. I'll just make it move from left to right. I'll do kind of the opposite thing. So all I have to do is get in here and alter a few things. I'm going to create the sprite at over 0 and down 200. This time I don't want it to be pointed over to the left, so instead of rotating it at minus 90, I'm going to switch that rotation to 90. And the velocity x this time, my idea is I want to move this from left to right. So my velocity x is not going to be a negative number, it's going to be a positive number. Now, once again, this is a situation where the higher the number you put into that spot, that parameter right there, the faster it's going to go. Now, don't do this. Don't put like 10,000 in there because I'm never going to see your object. If you put a huge number in there, it's going to move so quickly that I'll never see it. And I want to see it. I want to see it move. So don't sit there and think, oh, this will be funny. I'm going to put like 10,000 in there. No. Don't do that. All right, I want to see it move. I'll reset and run that, and there it is. It's just motion from left to right. I can do it by setting the velocity. That's really all this is. This one's done. I'm going to come up and remix. I'm going to rename. This is going to be velocity number 3. I didn't spell that correctly, so I'm going to fix it real quickly. And again, all I'm going to do is alter a few things. I'm going to make this one start down at the bottom of the screen and fly up. All right, well, if I want to start at the bottom, I think I'll put it over 200 and down like 400 all the way down to the, so that's the initial location of my spaceship. And this time, I don't think I really need to rotate. I'll just set the since I have that command in there, I'll just set the rotation at 0. Now this is not going to be a velocity x, though. I want it to come up, and that's going to be a velocity y. So I'll just pull that out. I mean, I could have gone to show text and altered it that way, but I'll just do this. All right, I'll do ship velocity y, and if it's going up, this is where you have to keep it straight. If it's going up, you have to think, okay, is that going to be a negative or a positive? If it's flying up the screen, it's going to be a negative number. So again, you set it at some value, but don't make it such a big value that it instantly flies off the screen and I never get to see it. There's what we're after right there. Reset and run that. It is, I set the velocity y at -7, so it is going up the screen. So that's number 3. I'm going to remix this, and this time I'm going to go for some diagonal. And you can do up, down, right, left, or you can try diagonal. Diagonal is not hard, but it does involve a little bit more. This is going to be my velocity number 4. And this time I'm going to put it, I'd like to have this down in the bottom left-hand corner of the game screen, and then send it diagonally to the top right-hand corner of the game screen. So I'm going to put it over 0 and down 400. That's its initial location. I'm going to rotate it. I think this is going to be 45, but I'm about to find out. And this is going to require, if I'm going to do a diagonal motion, it's going to require both a velocity x and a velocity y. So I'm going to bring over a velocity x, and this will be ship velocity x, and I want to make it go to the right. It's going to be a positive motion. It's going to go to the right. So I'll just add 3. All right. It's kind of like that whole counter loop thing. It changes the x value by 3 every time it goes through, every tick through the draw loop. For the velocity y, I do want it to fly up, but I don't think I want it to go up quite that quickly. So I'm going to use a -2, kind of a guess to begin with, and I may have to change some things. I'm not sure I got the rotation right. I'm not sure I got the speed that I want. So the way you do it is you run it and you look at it. And I do have diagonal motion. It's not bad. I think I might match my numbers. Right now I've got a 3 and a -2, so I might make it a 3 and a -3 and just try it that way and see how that goes. And I got my rotation pretty good as well, so I'm going to try that again. Now I've got diagonal motion flying from the bottom left to the top right. Yay. All right, so again, that's your task here. You got to write 4 short ones with different kind of motion in every one of them, and just use the velocity blocks to set your motion the way you want, whether it's going to be an X or a Y, or it's going to be an up or a down or a right or a left. You can use combinations of the velocity X and the velocity Y to create all kinds of motion on the screen. That's what I want you to do today. Off you go.